Hey everybody, Mega Ruler 31 back here for FSi DFS. I hope everybody had a good weekend, good Father's Day. I know I did. Been actually on a decent stretch here for MLB, making some money. Um, Probably since like last Wednesday, cashed all my double ups, and then yesterday um, did well in the double ups, but I had a GPP with the Yankees and Detroit. Um, Grossman, like a lot of people took the Texas pitcher, but Detroit came through a little bit. The Yankees bats came alive for me. I had originally I had Severino and paying up for two pitchers there, and then adjust my lineup to get a full Detroit stack. So I went 3-5 Yankees Detroit and ended up going down to Pavetta off of Severino, which was a great play because Severino gave a bunch of runs and ended up Aaron Judge was up with two guys on, and man, if he got a hit and a couple RBIs, it would have taken down everything. But I did end up like third and won like a couple grand. So good weekend, and hopefully we got a really nice slate today. For Monday, it's an 8-gamer. No real weather concerns out there, so that's awesome too. Good pitching options and good hitting options. So let's just get right into it here. First game up, we have the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. We have Caleb Killian and JT Brubaker. I think both pitchers against both these offenses here with it's only 73 degrees. The wind's not going to be a factor here. Pittsburgh is a pitching park, so I think either one of them work. Killian's only 5K. I know he struggled a little bit in his first couple outings, but he's had a very, very good minor league career. Limited walks, some strikeouts. Pittsburgh is a lineup that has hits every so often, but they have been almost on the wrong end of a no-hitter a couple times in the last month. So not to say Killian's going to do that, but I think at 5K, definitely can pay off his price tag. So he's one of my favorite cheap pitchers today. And Brubaker on the other side, I think is the medium range is definitely in play against this Cub lineup. For bats, I think Cubs are definitely a cheap lineup there, and Pittsburgh would be a leverage one if people are playing the cheap Killian. Nice pitching duel again, and we just saw this recently at Yankee Stadium with Garrett Cole and McClanahan. Cole did really, really well. Tampa Bay is still missing, I think, two of their bats, their shortstop and low there. So that takes a little bit of pop out of their lineup. So I think Cole can definitely repeat it. Tampa Bay is a much better pitching park too than New York is. McClanahan on the other side, he did well against Yankees, got some strikeouts, did give up a couple home runs. So again, I think he'd be this number 2 here, more of a GPP. I think Cole's a safer bet here. The Yankees, even though Kikuchi had dominated him 3 straight times, that I like the Yankees against left-handed pitching. That's why I stacked him yesterday. And I think, I'll have some shares of stacks again today against left-handed, even though McClanahan is good. And Tampa Bay bullpen has some decent arms in it. I think, definitely someone to look at. So Yankees are my favorite GPP stack, and Tampa Bay would be a leverage stack because we have seen Cole get blown up by Minnesota. Again, that was more of a weather factor that day. Really helped the ball to fly more than normal. And this is in a dome and not a great hitting park. So, and Tampa Bay, this lineup isn't as good as Minnesota's is with some of their power bats. So, but still, it's baseball. Anything can happen. So I think, they're in play there for a leverage stack. Detroit and Boston, you have Fado and Wiskowski going up against each other. Fado 7-2, he's a fade. Just really he's definitely in the Tigers rotation, a good young arm, but just really hasn't put it together other than his first game is decent, but after that he's just kind of tailed off. So not super interested. It's going to be a little bit cooler in Fenway Park. Wind's not going to be a factor, but this guy's given up a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact, and I think the Red Sox lineup can definitely take advantage of that. So they're my favorite stacks, especially the lefties. Wiskowski on the other side of it against Detroit. Detroit just has such a low ISO, such low power and everything. I think that here Killian will definitely be decent pitchers in the cheap range here today. I think both of them are very popular. So I think you can play either one as your SP2. So I mean, just don't look at their box scores and stuff. You just got to look at like some of their data from AAA and like who they were there. And, both of these cheap pitchers are up against the essentially AAA teams in the major leagues today. So I think they both make good options. Detroit would probably be the worst stack on the slate as a leverage stack. San Francisco Giants and Atlanta Braves. It's going to be hot here. This is a good hitting weather. Light wind blowing out at 3 miles per hour. If that picks up, that's going to help hitting even more. But you've got decent pitchers here with Logan Webb and Max Fried. Webb is a righty, and he's really good against righties. So there's only usually 2, maybe 3 lefties in the Braves lineup. So especially losing the switch hitter there and Albies. So I think he can be decent, probably my third favorite in the mid-range. Atlanta Fried, he's a good pitcher where he doesn't give up power, but he doesn't get a ton of strikeouts or generate a lot of fantasy points. So he's a better real-life pitcher than he is in fantasy purposes. But I think if you want some ownership today with him, the Giants are probably going to mix and match with him, and there are a lot of righties out there. So I think the Giants make a decent cheap lineup, even though against a pitcher here, probably my fourth favorite out of all of them, with like some of the cheap righties that they'll probably throw out there. But the danger with them is always if a righty comes in out of the bullpen, then they have a lot of lefties on the bench that they just mix and match and pitch hit for, so you don't get like the full amount of bats out of any of them. And then Atlanta on the other side, I think, is my second favorite GPP, just with the weather and everything. Even though they don't have a lot of lefties against Webb, I think if it is hot and wind picks up a little bit, that they can hit some balls out of the park and maybe get into the bullpen. So again, GPP, not a cash play. St. Louis and Milwaukee. You have Miles Mikolas coming off of his almost no-hitter against Pittsburgh, 1 out away from it. Heartbreaker. Felt bad for the guy, but he went like 118 pitches or something in that one. So you really don't want to play a guy, even though he has pitched into the hundreds a couple times this season. I don't really want to play him because probably gonna have a shorter leash, and pitchers usually after the high of that usually don't go good the next time out. So he's going to be a fade for me. Corbin Burns, he's been Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He's been good, he's been bad, but he's actually been, the last time he put up a decent score was 40 against his Cardinals. I think he had like 11 strikeouts in that one. So I think he's definitely in play, but I think a Cole or McClanahan would play before him. But the savings is nice at 990. So you have a couple hundred on that. So bat wise, Cardinals, I think if you're going to full stack them against Burns, and Burns has off days, it's going to be a GPP stack there. And the Brewers, I think, are my favorite cheap stack here, especially lefties against Mikolas. Toronto Blue Jays and the Chicago White Sox, a 9.5 total here. Berrios against Lance Lynn making his second start coming back. Berrios has been solid recently. The White Sox are getting healthier. They might get Anderson, their shortstop, back, but if not, Mendrick leading off, he's just been doing really well. It's got like a nice like hitting streak going, like 9 or 10 games, something like that. So if he's up there, he's a decent cheap bat. But anyways, Berrios I think is okay against this White Sox team. They have a high total at 4.48, but I think in mid-range, if you want to take somebody in a GPP, then I'm fine with that. Lance Lynn on the other side, it's a fade. He's a really, really good pitcher, but he struggled in all his rehab starts. He didn't look good in his first start. Don't know how long his leash is, and the Blue Jays are probably the second best stack on the slate next to Boston. Kansas City Royals and the Los Angeles Angels. You have Bubic against Syndergaard. Bubic is a no here, especially with all the right-handed power bats against him. Wind blown out 8 miles per hour, 77 degrees in Los Angeles. Really like the Angels here as like the third top stack of the day against Bubic. And then Syndergaard actually is kind of in play here as a cheap pitcher at 6'4". Kansas City's really struggled. Just remember, Syndergaard has trouble holding runners on. So some of the guys that can run like Witt and Merrifield on this team, and Benintendi to a point too. Just look up box scores for Michael A. Taylor is really, really fast. I know that. So look at like the stolen base box scores, and if you want to take a cheap stack of just like stolen base upside guys against Syndergaard, then that is something that you can look in, or like take fast guys as like fill-ins for your lineup also there. And then, like I said, I really like the Angels stack. Final game, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks and San Diego Padres. There's Zach Davies and you Darvish. Normally wouldn't take Zach Davies here, but Machado sprained his ankle in Sunday's game, and he might not be in this lineup. And you still don't have Tatis back there, so it might be a little bit watered down. It's in San Diego, which is like a couple of years ago, it was like a horrible hitter's park. It's gotten a little bit better, but still, I think you can consider Davies as a cheap pitcher. I still like Killian, Wisconsin, and Syndergaard over him. He'd be a fourth favorite, but if you're playing a bunch of teams and, max out 150, then definitely have him in your player pool. Yu Darvish on the other side, I think would be my favorite mid-range one. I've really like Arizona usually, but he's been getting back to he isn't the same guy he's been on like the Dodgers and when he first started out in the Cubs, but he's starting to come around a little bit. So I think up against this Arizona team, I think he's definitely playable. And like I said, he'd be between he and Berrios and Webb would probably be like the mid-range guys that you look for today here. So hitting wise, I think Arizona is the top leverage stack. If Darvish does pick up some ownership at an 8-1 price tag, where, we were getting this guy a couple of years ago at like 10K, and then San Diego Padres, I think, definitely make a decent stack against Davies just with their total. But I think if Machado's out of the lineup, then they're probably more of a GPP one than a cash one. So look at some builds and get you off on your way for your day here. Like I said, I'm going to take Garrett Cole, and then I'm going to take one of the cheap pitchers in SP2. I am going to stack Boston here. 1 through 5 should have 3 lefties in it with Devers, Duran, and Verdugo. And you can put X-Bag and JD Martinez in there. You can mix in Milwaukee, I think, as a stack. If you want to take like JD Martinez out of it and go Yelich there and like Tellis and Navarez a catcher, and then take one off at second base. Mendick, I don't know how much he is on DK. If that works out, might be a nice little decent stack for you. On FanDuel, same thing. I am taking Devers, Verdugo, and Duran. I have to make a decision if I want JD Martinez or X-Bod there, and then I'm going to fill in with probably Yelich, Tellis, or Navarez at first base. Maybe I'll take one in the utility, and again, figure out who I want for second base. And if Mendick is he's second base eligible on FanDuel, he's not on DK, so I apologize for that. So, but there's a lot of good punt second basemen that you can find out there for cheap. And then next for GPP, I'm going to take Berrios. I'm going to stack the Blue Jays, Kirk, Vlad, Bichette, Timo Miranda, Springer. Might try to mix in some of the faster speed guys like Taylor and Merrifield here for to take advantage against Syndergaard. DK for their speed there for fill-ins, or whatever, if people in really good situations there. So Blue Jays, I think a GPP, and then fill in with whoever works. For SP2, again, I'm going to take one of the cheap guys, either Killian, Wisconsin, Syndergaard, Davies, one of those, whatever fits with the bats. And then on FanDuel, I'm taking Berrios as my pitcher. You can go down to Killian, Wisconsin. It gives you a lot of salary for bats, but you really don't need it because you can almost get like a full Angel stack in here with Trout, Ohtani, and even like Ward in your utility spot there. Springer or Tino Hernandez, whatever one you want to take there. Vlad, Bichette, and then you can still pay up for second base and third base and get some decent plays there, and still have plenty of salary with Berrios. But if you drop down more, like you can get like probably pretty much stack any teams that you want to there, take like all the studs that you want. So you might not get the quality start out of it, but if all your bats go off, then you should be in a good spot. So again, I'm MegaRuler31. If you have any questions, you can hit me up at Twitter at MegaRuler31. You can leave some comments below and we'll try to get back to you. Always check back the video like 6:30 or so. If anything changes, like pitchers, like the one night a couple of weeks ago, like the Yankees pitcher, one of the top guys was out with COVID, and we dropped that information there in case you didn't see it. So check back the video if there's any updates. Check out the other questions. People ask some really, really good ones here. Really appreciate that. So if you want more information about FSi DFS, check out the details of the video. All the information is down there on how to get into our website or Discord, all our information. So appreciate you watching. Hope you have a good Monday. Good luck in your contest, and we'll see you next time.